I chose this topic because I know that this topic can be controversial, and I wanted to get the conversation started about what can be improved in our education system and what is already being done to support all students and not hide this vital information and education from these students. This topic matters to me because of the changing times in our society that it has become necessary to include these topics in education. Otherwise, LGBTQ plus students will not have the support, resources, and community that makes them feel safe and welcome in our schools. After concluding my research on the British Columbian education system, I found that there's no direct SOGI curriculum. However, there is an organization called SOGI 123 that works in BC and Alberta, which the BC Ministry of Education has been using as a resource and a support for educators as well as parents to help create a more inclusive environment for their students and children. SOGI 123 works with the Education Board to help teach educators how to be their own SOGI teacher, as well as providing teachers with resources for their classrooms. As you can see from these multicolored slides, SOGI 123 has gone above and beyond to help aid teachers. In addition, SOGI 123 has many PDFs like this one that helps teachers have a SOGI inclusive classroom. Schools can reach out to SOGI advocates and speakers to perform presentations and workshops, as well as providing parents with a pamphlet that can be given out at schools and PAC meetings if they want to learn more about what SOGI 123 is all about. Lastly, from my interview with the elementary school principal, I learned about the ERASE program. This program was created in BC to build a safe and caring school community that empowers students, parents, educators, and community partners who support them to get help with challenges, report concerns to schools, and learn about complex issues facing students. ERASE's principles are to prevent bullying and violence in school, give support to educators and community partners, give mental health supports for children, and support students of all sexual orientations and gender identities. These are some of the interview questions that I asked my two interviewees. First, elementary school principal. This principal supports families as they reach out to find their way through the SOGI experience. He works to connect parents with community resources, and in 2014 there were no district or community resources in the school area, so he ended up supporting the creation of a bi-weekly group meetings for parents and children that entailed discussions of SOGI related topics guided by parent and child advocates. Then, in early 2015, the school district began working with counselors and administrators to support SOGI discussions. Yes, this principal has talked with staff members and parents while also organizing a presentation by a SOGI advocate to expand the knowledge and understanding of staff members, then to counselors and administrators. He also recognizes that the district has provided administrators and counselors with growing resources. In order to further improve the education system when discussing SOGI topics, there needs to be more opportunities for staff members to learn from students and staff who have worked through the SOGI education. Unfortunately, this can still be a difficult topic for partners in the system, so it must be handled respectfully and carefully to avoid stigmatization or conflict. In addition, the further creation of easily accessible online resources will be beneficial. This principal believes that while not in the curriculum directly, the Ministry of Education has started to provide resources for education professionals through its ERASE program. He believes SOGI resources should be available when needed. Educators strive to model and encourage respect for everyone all the time, resulting in times where they need to discuss race, ethnicity, gender identity, and many other things that can result in people being viewed as different. Educators need to be aware of the history of how events have impacted on marginalized groups so that the same mistakes are not made. My interview with an SFU student. This SFU student first remembers learning about identity and orientation in grade 7. However, it was through a more social exposure than through education. She believes that she learned more about this topic from her own curiosity because this wasn't something that was really talked about with teachers. She had a bad experience within the education system in grade 10 involving a transgender student who was forced to use the women's bathroom even though they identified as a male. This student's experience has been when she joined the Gender Sexuality Alliance Club at her high school in grade 10. In this club, they made a presentation for the teachers at the school to discuss topics like pronouns, identities, and orientations. This student believes that the education system could improve on covering the basics like pronouns, gendering words, and definitions, while also teaching that gender and orientation are a fluid concept. She believes that the teaching of this education should be an inclusive discussion or conversation, instead of simply having the teachers just talk to the students. This student thinks that it is very important for SOGI education to be implemented into the regular curriculum for elementary students and high school students. This is because gender identity and orientation are a huge part of our society today, and not allowing children the opportunity to understand and discuss it is doing them a disservice for their later life. Lastly, both interviewees were asked, why is there such controversy around this subject, and could this controversy affect the children's learning and understanding of SOGI education? The principal has had to deal with the prejudices that people have and understand that people are afraid of something that is seen as different. However, the implementation of unisex or gender-neutral bathrooms has been a great implementation by the school district to deal with these sensitive issues. The SFU student believes that there are stigmas and controversies everywhere, and if we don't push past these barricades, then nothing will change for the future. An example of this controversy just passed in Florida in March 2022 that critics are calling the Don't Say Gay bill. This bill forbids education on sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through grade 3, while also allowing parents to sue their school districts if that is violated. This type of restriction and limitation of education will further discriminate against those who are LGBTQ+, while also allowing the idea that being gay or having a gender identity is bad, which can be very harmful to their perceptive minds. This controversy is not only in the US, but in 2017 there was controversy with the parents and community of Chilliwack, BC, and these are some of the things that protesters said. For my resource, I created a rough idea of a website with links to resources and helpful images for educators, parents, and students to potentially be sent or provided if needed. The overall complete goal would be to have one website with many different resources for people who want more information about SOGI or need more support. Therefore, they can just go to this one website for their SOGI needs. The organization SOGI 123 will be a large part of my resourceful website. Because SOGI 123 is already so great, I wanted to make sure to include it with my other resources I found. My website would include images like the gender unicorn or genderbread person, as well as links for a variety of resources like those mentioned on the Fraser Health website. In addition, having a pronoun chart or a list of places with gender-neutral bathrooms could also help students ease some stresses. Lastly, I would want to provide a list of SOGI educators and speakers that people can talk to or request to come into their school or in classrooms. Overall, I would want to create a safe and inviting space where students, parents, and teachers can learn deeper about SOGI education if they are not given the chance in school. From this process, I learned that the education system is slowly moving with society standards and looking to be more inclusive for all. For example, in the past month since beginning this project, I have been looking for SOGI positive initiatives in school, as well as reflecting on my own experiences in school and the education system. To start, last month, while working at a middle school I was coaching at, I looked up and saw the Progress Pride flag in the gym. Sad to say that I was surprised that the school would do this, because often I expect schools to err on the side of caution when it comes to these controversial topics. Nonetheless, I was happy and glad to see this representation hanging in local schools. Based from this project and my research, I think I will be seeing a lot more pride flags in schools in the future, and it will become more normalized because of the initiatives that the BC Ministry of Education are taking. Lastly, I wanted to conclude on my own experience in education with SOGI. I have to say that before high school, the only thing I remember being taught in school was about sex ed between a male and a female. However, when I got to high school, the education slowly began. However, I had already learned many things from society and my own research since I was not obtaining it in school. In grade 11, there was a gender-neutral washroom implemented in my school, and I think it definitely provided some students with relief. In grade 12, my biology teacher brought in a SOGI speaker who went over the gendered unicorn with us, and I was really intrigued, and this is when I first learned about SOGI 1, 2, 3.